Let's see, we have everybody jumping on in. Perfect. See Kylie, good morning. Leanne, hi. Dulce, Jesse, cool. Nice. Okay, cool. All right, Jonathan's coming on in. Gosh, see if there's anything weird behind me. That's like my yoga basket back here, so it does have a bunch of weird stuff in there, but other than that, it's all pretty much the same. Let's see. All right, so we have Zenith and Sarai and Jaden. Cool. All right, cool. This is really excited. Again, if you guys got my messages this morning, we've invited the Tuesday, Thursday class. I don't know if they're coming. They can, they're welcome to. And same thing with you guys. You guys are welcome to come tomorrow if you can. I know some of you have other classes, but the bonus is I did learn how to get it into YouTube and get it closed captioned. Again, not great. Closed caption takes a lot of babysitting to get right, but it's better than nothing and it does count. So I can post these. So that's like every single to-do list, every single day that I record, it goes up. So I'm wondering, and maybe I should get your guys' input on, should I put all the recordings of the list in one place or put it under each chapter? Because I'd prefer it under each chapter, but I don't know if that's a little bit less user-friendly. What do you guys think? Put it in the chat or tell me.
I would say under each chapter because I'd be able to find it easier.
Okay,
that's my
so
personal opinion.
Yeah, that's cool. No, that's what I'm asking for. Okay, cool. Anyone else? Jesse, you agree? Keep it under the chapter. All right, that's fair. Yeah, because if you go to where it says lecture and content, it would just be right there. Okay, good. Anyone, if anyone has a big freak fest about that, we can we can talk about that. I'm not sure if you guys realize, but like one of my philosophies is like, you know what? Yeah, we could freak about all kinds of different things. Life is weird, life is hard, life is funky, but freaking out doesn't make it less difficult or less funky or less challenging, right? So just keep in the back of your mind that everything is doable. I mean, it doesn't mean it's going to be in this perfect little box or this excellent little timeline, but things happen and we'll get it done, right? Anything in Canvas, if there was a weird blip or if there's like the hyperlink's not working or whatever, I can fix most of that unless it's a programming issue. So we're just letting more people in and we'll get started in a sec. So chapter 2, kind of fun, kind of gnarly, but kind of fun. So I'm not gonna lie about that. Chapter 2 is all about theories. And for those of you who are like those like super like preppy, like I need to get it all done, you may have gone through the chapter already. So I do tell people, skim through the chapter, look through chapter 2, maybe as you're preparing for this class, maybe let's say at 10 o'clock, sit down and kind of do like a skeleton outline, right? Because you're going to turn your outline in at some point, right? So maybe just get your topic header. So if you look, like again, I showed you, I like tabbed out my book, but if you look at the very first page of chapter 2, which is the theories, again, page 35, I literally put Roman numerals like this. And that, I mean, that's, again, that's me. Now you guys might want to do something a little bit different, but I mean, that's how you know. So if you put that on a paper and spread it out really far, put like maybe Roman numeral 1 at the top of a paper and then put A and then B like halfway down, you have plenty of space to write your stuff, right? Now, section 2 might take 1, 2, 3, 4 pages, but that's cool. It's up to you. If you write super teeny tiny or if you write really big, and then the newer theories might be like 1 or 2 pages, and then part 4 is kind of like a summary. But again, it's up to you how you guys do your outline. I put suggestions in that supported module. So if you are a mind mapper and you want to put the word theories in the middle and just mind map it out, that's cool. That makes sense to me sometimes too. Certain topics come up differently for me. Some are very, very linear, and some are like, oh, this is like this, and this came from that, and this came from this, and this branched off from that. And so again, however you want to, let's add more people, however you want to outline, maybe Give yourself a marker to sit down at 10 o'clock and just give yourself a skeleton to fill in. And then again, if it's handwritten, you just take a picture and upload that. I'm only looking for 2 pages. So you don't, like, let's say you're an 8-page handwritten outline person, you don't have to go nuts. Just upload your first 2 pages, maybe your favorite 2 pages. But again, and I'm saying that meaning knowing full well that some people are just gonna like max attack the first 2 pages and not do anything else. That's cool. You're an adult. You could do that. That's fine. Right? And so let's see, let's add more number. Elena's coming on in. It looks like we have, yeah, a good, nice, let's see, what do we have in chat? Looks like we have a good, nice, full, where's my chat? Yay, each chapter. Good. Thank you, Mateo, Christina, and Leah. Thank you. Okay, cool. So did everybody get to look at the module this morning? Like maybe look at the setup? Sorry, I'm trying to like minimize it, but it won't let me minimize. Let's make sure that let's make sure that we're recording so that when I post it, it's good. Double check. Yeah, it's recording. Good. So I'm going to share with you guys the what it looks like. We'll just go down the module real quick, just so you guys, I can like walk you through it a little bit. It's pretty self-explanatory. It walks you through everything pretty well. But at the same time, I just want to be able to say that I told you and it's on a recording. So yes, this is my Canvas, and yes, these are a lot of the videos we might go over today if we can get to them. But again, when you go under modules, each module will show up on Monday morning, and it's up to you, your plan of attack. I mean, for me, if I've never seen this stuff before and I don't know what it is, I'm gonna like open my chapter, kind of get comfy, you know, make maybe a cup of coffee, you know, get set up, make sure the dog's not gonna get up and bug me, which means she's gotta be in my bed. She's like in my bed right now. So get everything all squared away, and then just start getting familiar with stuff. Again, we meet on a Monday, which is nice. So you might not do a whole lot of prep because this is part of your prep. But it's up to you how you want to pull it out, because again, in college, you set the tone, you set the pace. I mean, I have it rolled out. It's a 16-week semester, but it's up to you whether you want to like get it all done on Monday or wait till the very last second. That's your choice. So again, our prep module is there. Don't forget to go through this supportive information module. I literally put use these to make your life easier. I'm not kidding, right? This gives you like what this is all for. Mindset is great. And by the way, anytime I have like a video, please share it. This one right here, how to fulfill every child's potential on mindset, closed mindset and open mindset from Carol Dweck, is amazing. Especially if you have children. She talks about in there like why you should never call your toddler a genius, because that will like ruin their life. It's crazy. And you know what? And I have a kid like that who everybody called him so smart, but now he's like not open to learning new things because he's like, well, I'm so smart, I don't have to learn. It's like, well, wait a minute. So there's a little backfire, so watch that. And then empathy is huge for all of us. Brene Brown, great. She did a HBO special, TED Talks, the whole 9 yards. That's great. These external tech pieces we will use. I use Grammarly.com as a plugin in my Chrome browser. It will spell check and grammar check everything. It can be a little annoying, but then you can shut it off for a second. Portfolios is the thing that we're going to use by the end of the semester. And I will do a separate recording just on that, but jump in there, get familiar, poke around. It kind of looks like a cross between Facebook and LinkedIn. So just get comfy with that. Set up an account. Super easy. Speech Notes is an actual audio website that will take your notes and record them audio. So I will put on a headset. If I need to make a full outline, I'm not super fast. I think I only type like 35 words a minute because I like learned on a typewriter. No joke, right? And so if I really want something massive to like pull out, I will put on a thing and just let it type what I talk. And it's about 95% accurate. I know our phones do stuff, our laptops and whatnot, our devices do stuff. This one's great too. It also can turn it into a Word doc, send it, email it, file it, PDF it right there, and it's free. And it's I would say it's 95% accurate. So like if you can accurately spell Malala Yousafzai and Vygotsky, you got my vote, right? And then more spelling and grammar. Again, I'm not your English teacher. I will kind of maybe give you a hint if you're doing stuff super wrong, but I'll say things like, please use spell check and Grammarly.com. Like I'm not gonna hammer it down. But the MLA formatting guide, this is if and when we turn in like an actual paper, I'm going to have you format it in, the regular 1-inch margins, 12-point font, 2-inch spaces, certain fonts and whatnot. It's not hard. It's probably stuff you've been exposed to in high school. If not, you're going to be exposed to it now. It's the one that doesn't need a big cover sheet or a running head. That's APA. We're not doing that right now. As you go up higher into like your 4-year or maybe your upper division classes here, APA is okay, but APA can be nutty, and I want to try to keep it simple. The outlines is all right here, all right here. I also have done like actual doodle notes. That's okay, right? You can do that. Cornell notes, I mean, if that's comfy for you, some people love that. Mind mapping, again, is that more artistic way, and then how to outline is just the very traditional way. I also had to throw in some study guides. I'm adding in trauma-informed practices to every class, meaning we all learn differently when our brain is stressed out. Self-care is huge, especially if you're going to be a teacher. If you can't put this in right now, you're going to have trouble putting it in later, right? I literally put my Wednesday night yoga class in here for free. Join me. It is a body conscious, body forward place that my friend, she just does it for free. She does it for donations, but you can come for free because I do give her donations. But she is a 400-pound yogi, and she's fantastic. So if you're feeling weird about your body, this is the yoga that will help you, because she just says, hey, like, I'm going to say do this move. If you can't do it because for whatever reason, then don't do it. Do something better, different, or just. So again, this is about getting us all to take care of ourselves for sustainability. Self-care equals sustainability for the semester. Extra credit, I'm just going to make sure this one's okay. It just basically says, here's a list of documentaries that you can watch, and you do a 2-page paper, write it, prove to me that you watched it, give me a selfie or something, and it's 5 points. But I want to I'm just revamping that. More future teacher resources. There's a bunch of different things here that you can, like, again, my link to 205 and my Pinterest board, which is the special needs class. Poke through there if you want to. If not, it's up to you. If you're not going to be a teacher, that's cool. But my suggestion is, and which I put in here in the support right here, how to use these tools, make a YouTube playlist, right? We all watch YouTube. I haven't met one person who hasn't seen a YouTube video. But in there, if you sign in under your profile, you can make a playlist and then save these in there. I have probably 30 different playlists, one for each class, one for, whatever hobby I have. And then if later I want to remember it, I'm like, oh, it's right there in my playlist. So again, think about information like ripples in a pond. It makes no sense to hold on to that if somebody else could use it, right? How many times has somebody shared something with you and you went, oh my God, that's amazing. You can be that person as well. So please use that module. It's fantastic. I don't do things for no reason, and I don't like wasting my time. So I'm doing that to help. I'm really doing that to help. So we went through, I kept module chapter 1 super simple. It's really basic, 1, 2, 3. But now that we're getting into like the actual content, I stepped it up. So module 2 really is like, we're looking at an accessible format for everybody. And so this is my step towards that. So we'll have our introduction. We'll always have an introduction and a summary for each chapter and each unit. And that's the other ones up in here. But then we'll have the content where you'll find the actual like PowerPoints that we're going to go over today. But then I'll put the link to let's make sure everybody's in there. Everybody. And then I'll put the link to the recording in there as well. So let's say you didn't come today for you were sick, or you're traveling, or you had to work, or you had a childcare issue, whatever, just go back and watch the lecture. And some of you are watching it right now, which is kind of cool. Then just our weekly assignments. And I say assignments loosely, but in Canvas, they call it an assignment. Let's see, let's make sure we add everybody. So there's just every week, there's an outline, there's a discussion board, and then there's the reflection. So that's it. So I didn't number them like 2.3, 2.4, 2.5. I didn't do, come on. We got the intro, we got the content, and then I don't open up the quiz right away. I want people to kind of step into the content, and then maybe Wednesday afternoons I open the quiz. Again, quiz 10 points. 5 true false, 5 multiple choice. You can use your book. You have 30 minutes, 2 chances, work with a friend, all that. Down here in the supported videos, I will show some of these today during the lecture. Excuse me. But in the deep dive, I make a suggestion for you to go find some additional videos. Crazy, yeah? And this is why. Again, when I'm telling you what to learn, you're learning what I think is important. And that's not necessarily everything that's out there. I'm in my own little teaching bubble, right? And sometimes I miss stuff. So I want to make sure that you guys are learning what you want to learn. Ask yourself, okay, now that I've learned about theories, what do I really want to learn? Yeah, it's important. It's important. So just as a point of contention, and just to say that we've gone over things, I want to actually jump into like, I'll actually kind of like read down a little bit what's in here. I won't do it every week. I know it's still new for us. This is week 2. So I want to kind of like do a little bit of, I call it like training wheels, right? Everything that we learn new in our life, we need a little bit of support. And we'll learn in this chapter what that support is called culturally. It's called scaffolding. So technically, as we learn about scaffolding, I'm providing scaffolding, which is my guidance or a little bit of a heads up or just offering support through new stuff. Because again, every time you learn new stuff doesn't mean you're going to catch it the first time, right? So just like you would help a younger person or maybe somebody who's not even younger, but just newer, every time you help somebody else, you're scaffolding them. You're not doing it for them. You're just giving them an area in which they can learn with. Okay. So again, our introduction will talk about like a little summary, right? We're going to ask ourselves, why do we even have theories? What are theories all about? We learned about the scientific method in the first chapter, but now that we can apply it to these structured thoughts, then we actually start to come up with results that help us explain humanity or predict what could happen in the future. Life could always be different. These learning objectives are the things at the beginning of the chapter. It's the very first PowerPoint slide. It's gray with white writing. Kind of gives you a heads up about what we're going to learn. So what's practical about a theory? Do childhood experiences affect adults? See, again, some of them are rhetorical. You already know the answer. Number 3, would you be a different person if you grew up in another place or century? Yeah. I tell people that, you know, I was born in the 70s, which seems like a million years ago, but when my mom was born in the 40s, and then when she got married and my dad was in the military, and my mom had to take an officer's wife's class on how to behave properly as an officer's wife, which included a hat and gloves in public, and she was not allowed to wear pants. So like skirt, dress, hat, gloves. I'm thinking, holy cow, I would have not made it. No, I'm glad I was born when I was born, but you know, 30 years prior, I would have struggled with society. Maybe not. Maybe I would have just gone with the flow. 100 years prior, maybe I would have thrived. You know, I would have had a farm and kids and goats and, you know, making beer and doing all that kind of stuff in some rural German country. I have no idea. But would you be a different person? You bet you would be. We'll talk more about that. Why do we need so many theories? Why can't we just pick like 3 and we're good? Right? And then I'm going to challenge you guys to come up with your own. Again, this tells you everything that we're doing. And these are the hyperlinks to that. For some reason, the hyperlinks have been a little wacky. So again, you can hyperlink through there or you can navigate through the side. So again, my tip here is have fun, right? This is not drudgery. This is not tedium. This is not a dead language or, you know, a theoretical thing that can't be proven. This is life, and we can have fun with this. Okay, so we are getting started. Let's do the next thing. So I'm going to scroll down and hit next. And so after the introduction, it actually goes into the lecture. And for this particular lecture, I actually have it fully recorded. I have it up. I mean, I have it, but I just need to give it to you guys. And this, what we're doing right now, can be recorded, and I can upload it to YouTube, and I can get it closed captioned, again, for those of you who are just joining us. So I will add that here. Here's the actual slides. I'll put the live recordings under there as well. So today would be part 1, and tomorrow would be part 2. Good. So I gave you guys some suggestions here, like, again, maybe like 10 o'clock as you're getting ready for class, waiting for my Zoom link. Open the chapter, skim through it, you know, look at the first page that has kind of a rough outline in there. Take notes while you're doing this. Take notes while I'm lecturing, you know, take notes off to the side. It's up to you. I don't require the video, so you guys could have the video off and be doing that as well. And then when you complete your outline, or like max attack, like your 2 pages, then you can upload those. Now, some of you guys will be done with it today, which is beautiful. Some of you are going to take all week. That's fine too. I'm not making you live in my brain. We're just sharing some time together, right? Think of it this way. Everybody's on this one long lane, hopefully long lane of life, but we all do this, right? And so sometimes you walk with somebody, sometimes you don't walk with somebody, and this is our time to walk together. Let's see. Now, for the chapter 2 outline, yeah, the graphic's not showing up, but so for the outlines, I kind of gave a longer rationale and talk to you guys about why we do outlines and the course design. There we go. Again, the benefits of doing the outline is, I kind of explained this to you, is it gets into, it kind of formalizes your learning. It's an accountability piece. It's a momentum piece. Different people come to it different ways, but you never understand things perfectly the very first time. So we need to see it in different ways. And the goal is by the end of the week, you come to the chapter in maybe like 5 to 10 different ways, and you get to learn more things from it, right? If you were to take this class completely over next year, you would get more things as well. You'd be like, oh yeah, that's what she was talking about, right? We don't expect you to take the class more than once, but to have multiple exposures during a week is the goal. Okay. So for options for outlines, I gave you guys, again, those links, those hints of what's in the supportive module. Here is a actual outline here. That was for chapter 1. And the grading, everything's 5 points. I can always give you more points. I dropped the lowest at the end of the semester. And then the rubrics I haven't posted yet, but I will do that later today. And then my tip here is, like, when you set up your Portfolium account, and we have our Portfolium due at the end, this is where you're going to upload that as well. You don't have to do it right away, but you can do it right away if you want to. Again, we'll talk more about that as we go forward. So any questions so far on the outline or the lecture page? Because I know you guys will have questions on the next part. Cool, jump in when you need. Let me scroll down. So there is a rubric on here that will also be listed, excuse me, under the global navigation panel rubrics. So next, so the next one after this is your discussion board. Now our discussion board is a little intense this week, but at the same time, not as intense as your video. Let's just do it that way. So for every discussion board, there's a reason why we have to do these in online classes. It keeps the ongoing contact. It replicates what we do in class. It's another way to come to the material. It's a way to understand what we're doing and whatnot. So I'm going to actually walk you through the instructions right now. So don't freak out if you don't have your book. I kind of put prompts in here that kind of lead us towards this. Again, if you don't have your book, we can still kind of work on it together. Because remember, you still have the PowerPoint slides, you have outlines and whatnot. So, so at the beginning of chapter 2, at the beginning of every chapter, not only is there this outline, but there's kind of like a little intro, like an example. In my 110 class, we call it socialization sketches, which is nice. So on page 35, the author gives this example of a folk theory, you know, this story that happened. You know, you guys may have seen this picture when the police officer was giving this homeless man some boots in the snow, and everybody freaked out about that. Everybody had 37 opinions on it, and why he did that and why he didn't do that, and what's wrong with, you know, how people can't just look at something that looks nice and like a moment in time, and people just, number one, people don't leave it alone. Everyone has an opinion. That's fine. That's cool. Your opinion's great. But then some people are very cynical about it. He felt guilty. He did that because he felt guilty. Like, or, you know, the government is not taking care of our people, so the police have to, like, it was just this big thing. But here's the takeaway. People had theories about it. People had ideas about it. And guess what? You have ideas too. And we talked about this last week, just slightly, about why you think people tick. Why do they think they do that way they do? So in this week, in the discussion board, you're going to come up with your own theory. Super easy. Now, don't freak out about it. People look at this like, oh my God, she's making us answer the scientific method. Yeah, 2 sentences. Give me 2 sentences. It's not that hard. So for your discussion board, you're going to come up with your theory, like answer 1 through 5 with 2 sentences, draw a diagram. Now, it doesn't have to be something crazy. It literally could be something like, look, I drew a diagram, and then, like, you know, I uploaded it or I showed it or whatever. I am allowing videos if that's your gig. A lot of people hated it. A lot of people loved it. So let's say I wanted to do a theory on why, oh, I'll give you some examples right here at the bottom, right here. So I'll walk through it, but let me talk about use some examples. I gave you some examples. Please don't use these, and if you do, tweak them a little bit, and you're good. Why do some people have so many domestic animals at home? I have a friend who's gotten kicked out of apartments for too many animals. Why are some people crazy drivers? That's an easy one. Why do 4-year-old children ask why all the time? Why do some people connect to others while other people are very standoffish? Why are firstborn children always the leaders? And are they always the leaders? Why do middle schoolers really want to look cool at all costs while later it's not as important? Remember, like when you're 13, my 13-year-old's like so crazy about what he looks like. When you were 13, yeah, probably we all went through that. But then later you're like, I don't care. Interesting, right? Maybe in 3 years later, it's a big difference, right? And then lastly, I put here, why do some professors demand challenging activity boards? And some are just like, oh, what? Right, so maybe this is where you're gonna go down the rabbit hole. So pose a question, just like that. And this is the thing. Everyone's gonna look at this list and be like, well, that's what I was gonna do. Trust me, you get other theories. And if you're not sure, think about the one that irritates life. The thing that irritates. I have an irritation why women spend a lot of money on shoes and then don't walk in them properly. They like have this weird like T-Rex like bent leg and they're like, oh, look at my shoes. They're so cute. And you're like, you're so uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to look at. Just wear something like maybe an inch shorter. Go spend all the money you want, but like, let's not be ridiculous, right? So you could be posing a question. Why do women buy expensive shoes and then not be able to walk in them? I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And then pose your question, like, so name it. It could be like Professor Zlaney's like theory on collecting rocks. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, right? Develop a hypothesis. What do you want to examine? Like, what is it that you want to look at? Even like maybe look at women, look at men, boys, girls, kids, older people, people who've moved to a different country, people, right? Anything like that. Test a hypothesis. Now, again, I'm not expecting you to have an actual survey, but how would you test this idea, this hypothesis? Would you use a survey? Would you use a study? Would you use an observation? We're pulling in chapter 1 because it's not nothing. Chapter 1 has an actual foothold in all of our chapters, but I'm not doing a cumulative test, remember. Analyze the evidence. How would you know you were right? Right? You guys can use a little bit of fantasy here and say, well, I researched all these people, I surveyed all these people, and 99% of them said, right? Right? Your theory could be like, why is everybody gluten intolerant all of a sudden? Something like that. Why do white girls like kale? Like, I don't know, things like that, right? Report the results. Who would want to know this information and who would it help? Here's the thing. When people get money to do research and actually go down the rabbit hole of actually doing research, it's to benefit something or someone. Are we just doing it for the sake of just doing it? Hopefully not. Nobody's got extra money just to throw around. But again, think of all the research that's going out there right now about COVID, about how do we prove that this next vaccine actually works, right? So again, they're not going to take a survey. Do you think it works? They're going to say, here, half of you people got, it's a double-blind study, half of you people got a placebo, half of you people actually got it. Even the researcher doesn't know what that was. And then they report their symptoms. It wasn't an opinion. They'll do it on a 1 to 5 scale, right? A Likert score, something like that. So again, now draw a little diagram. I don't care if it's a bar chart, a scatter plot, stick figures, anything. So look in your book. There's like stair step theories, there's circle theories. It's up to you. It could be a blooming lotus, it could be a mind map, anything. Again, this is 2 questions on each. Draw a picture or some sort of diagram. It could be on your computer. It's up to you. Some of you are very creative and some of you want to pull a graph out of PowerPoint and relabel it. It's up to you. And then last one is, well, who would you line up with? If you had your own theory and you were like a world-renowned theorist, who would you line up with? And we'll talk about the theorists today and in part 2 as well. Are you most like Freud? And you want to talk about people's inner desires or like invisible motivations? Or Are you like Erickson, who talks about emotions? Are you like Piaget, who talks about thinking? Are you like Vygotsky, who talks about culture? Are you like Skinner and Watson and Pavlov, who talk about behavior? Hint, hint, I'm a behaviorist. I think that life makes perfect sense when you just look at people's behavior, but there's more to life than that, of course. So again, put those together, present it to the group, right? And again, now I'm going to ask you, instead of hi, nice to meet you, way to go, super cute responses, I'm looking for a little bit heavier responses. Now, this is not a debate. When somebody says, I want to talk about why my grandma likes to collect spoons, there's no debate about stuff like that. It's just somebody's theory, right? Somebody's idea, right? So, but here's the thing, you can build on that. You can say yes and, or what about, or I thought about this, or I had a similar idea, but did you ever think about this way? Or that's really cool, but how about, what did you consider this, right? This is more of the Socratic method. This is collegiate. This is our way of saying it's more than just like a conversation or like a Twitter thread, right? This is college, right? So again, there's a little bit more here. So please refrain from using like, yay, super cute, yay, me too, hashtag twinsies. Like, please stop. Don't do that stuff. I don't want any emoticons, any hashtags, any colloquialisms, any casual slang. We don't need it, right? If you were sitting across from a peer at on a classroom table, would you talk like that? No, no. So, and again, if you want to do that, that's cool. Do that elsewhere. That's fine. I think life is fine. We're all reducing to hieroglyphics, which is cool, just not here. Cool. And then I'll add another rubric. And then again, just to remind you, it's 10 points here, not just 5. I can always, if you guys like totally go over above, I can do like 15 points. I love giving extra points. And then the lowest ones drop at the end of the semester. So if you look at this and go, hell no, I ain't doing this, then don't. It's up to you. Life is all about that. Okay. I did find a handout over the weekend that was like why high school and college are different. I will share that as well. So, wow. I'm going to scroll back up here and now questions. I'll take 3 before we move on. None? Chat or verbal is fine. How many of you right now are like, I have no theories? If somebody's brave enough to say, I have no theory, I have no idea what I would think about, I'll do a walkthrough just with you right now in front of the whole class. It's not that scary. And then I'll try to point you in the right direction. I have a few ways of helping with that.
When is this due by?
This is just a weekly discussion board, so Sunday.
Okay, okay.
Get like you got a whole week.
Yeah.
But get like that first piece in by Wednesday. Even if you're like, hey, I'm not sure, but I'm thinking about this, throw that out there and see what your classmates. Like you could say, I really want to do a thing about dog ownership, but I don't know where to go with this. Throw that out there by Wednesday and see what if somebody can support you with that. Good question. What else? 2 more.
For the evidence part, we're just coming up with like fake evidence, right?
Yeah. How would
Okay.
you know that your theory was accurate? Well, you would want the results to look like what? You would want the results to say this. So let's say I was interviewing my grandma why she collects spoons. And I have this idea that maybe when she lived through the Depression, they had to use, they had to scrap all their silverware or something like that, or they each had 1 spoon to share or something. So having a collection of spoons on the wall is kind of a luxury for her. So if that's my idea, that's my theory, how would I know that theory was right? I could be wrong, but how would I know? Let's say, so I'm not going to do a longitudinal poll, right? I'm just going to survey her. I'm just going to interview her, right? And if her results, and if I asked a question in the survey that said, hey, so why do you like spoons so much? And she says, oh, I like spoons because they're cheap and they go on the wall. Well, then your theory's not correct, but it doesn't matter, right? If you'd be like, oh, okay, well, she answered it exactly how I thought, then my theory was correct. You're not going to get marked down if those 2 things don't match. That's part of the process. Big deal, right? Because you're not actually doing the actual research, right? You do it. Good. Good question.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, good idea. One more? One more, I'll stare. Just remember, some of you are like, well, I'll just ask her a question in the email later. That's cool. But if I get like 5 of the exact same question that could have been asked in class when we could have just nailed it, that's a little irritating. One in the chat, yay. How do we make a diagram for the theory? You may draw it, take a picture of it, upload it. You may open up a Word document and put it in a table. You can open up a PowerPoint and they have tables all made for you. You can look, Google on, like you can search on Google, like how to make a bar chart, pie chart, whatever. But again, so like if you're doing sibling like birth order or something like that, the oldest in the family's a boy versus the oldest family's a girl, like maybe you're just going to draw people, right? It's not exactly a chart, it's just a diagram. It could be a picture, right? How do I draw a picture of my grandma and her spoon collection? I would draw a picture of the spoon collection, right? And maybe her thinking of when she was a kid and, you know, when she lived through depression, something like that. I always didn't understand why people collected spoons. That was a funky thing for me. I get it, like the little figurines, maybe I get that, or the thimbles. It was like, thimbles. But then again, I kind of literally asked my grandmother, I was like, what is it about those things? She's like, well, metal. We were rationing metal in the war time, like that. It's crazy, unbelievable. So again, there's different ways to illustrate something. It could be anything. It could be, look through your book. There are charts, there are diagrams for everything, but how would yours fit? Is it, if this is high, this is low, and this is low, this is high, right? It could be one of those. Again, it could be a mind map. It could be relational. It could be a flow chart. Again, it doesn't have to be crazy, right? Just something that's like, this is, you know, Jessica's theory on everything, and right there, something like that, right? Good. It's, again, if you're stuck on what theory you have, just think of the things that irritate you the most. that'll be easy. It'll help you come up with stuff. Okay, good. Very good. 3 questions. Jump on in at any time. Good. Let's make sure I have all the questions. Where can I find theories? This is all your opinion. This is not somebody else's theory. This is, we are going to learn about theories, and as we go down the lecture, this might spark your thing, right? And so this is all you. You come up with this all on your own. You don't find this anywhere. This is all you, all you, all you, all you. Yeah? Come up with the stuff. Why does my little sister always borrow? I'm telling you, I was just about to say this, but this is true. My little sister is adept. When she gives a gift, she really gives you a gift that she wants to borrow. You might have a sibling like that. Like she'll give me like a CD and be like, hey, can I borrow that on Christmas Day? Right? And you're just like, oh, and so like, what is it about those people, right? Or why do people on like American Idol or The Voice or whatever, you know, those people who think that they're amazing singers, and they're like, why is it that there's a weird ego connection? They're like, my neighbor says I'm a good singer, and you're wrong. You're like, oh, your theory can be based on anything. So what do you guys have off the top of your heads? Let's do this. So it's not just me coming up with it. What do you guys got so far? Ask me or throw it out there. I'm thinking of doing something like this. I'll take 3 of those before we get to the lecture.
Hi. Well, I'm planning on doing something about, I'm still figuring it out how.
Yeah, no, we're right off the cuff right now.
Somewhere about like, I usually get like, I was thinking about an irritation. So I usually get when people assume before asking. So I'm probably going to do something there about that.
Exactly. Why do people jump to conclusions or make assumptions before asking? When we have the perfect amount of logical language to say, hey, I'm not sure if that's right for you or that's right in this situation. So before I assume, can you let me know what is true here?
Yeah.
Or people skip that statement, then say that statement. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, just kind of like tweak it and develop it and go down the rabbit hole. That's perfect, Jesse. Good.
Thank you.
Good. What else? Anyone else got anything? You guys aren't irritated with stuff? You don't
Um,
wonder about people?
There was one, so I have a baby sister. She's about 2 years old now.
Okay.
And I was thinking something along the line of like, you know how people say like, oh, terrible twos or whatever when she throws tantrums. So I was gonna do something around that.
Yeah, it's perfect. I mean, it's right there in your bubble, right?
Yeah.
By the way, terrible twos weren't as bad as like Tyrannosaurus 3s and flushable 4s and unforgivable 5s and Satan 6s and yeah. So I tell people like 2, it's just new for you. It's just gonna keep ramping up. Now, that's not all kids, because some kids are like perfect silent angels like forever. And I don't know those kids, but I've seen them. It's like a rainbow slash, you know, unicorn white buffalo. Like I know they exist. I've seen them. I've heard of them. I just don't exist in that bubble. But yeah, I love it when the terrible twos, and then we blame the kid who's only been on the planet for 2 years instead of the adults who maybe should not make a big deal out of it, like when the milk spills, because milk spills, right? So things like that. So yeah, why is it about temper tantrums? And by the way, when you start going down the rabbit hole in temper tantrum, they start making perfect sense. They start making perfect sense. Good one, Anissa. Good. Who else? Anyone else? Yeah, so Chrissy, this was like that assignment last year that I kind of revamped. It's not an assignment anymore, it's a discussion board. So like maybe riff on what you had.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Anyone else? Cool. All right, who's ready to jump into the lecture? Everybody loves the lecture. Okay, well, theories, again, sometimes it sounds kind of dry, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes it does sound, oh, you know what, before I jump into that, let's do the next one. This was a discussion board. The last one is our deep dive reflection journal. Now, again, I typically, in all my classes, was asking for a reflection at the end of the chapter. So again, this is due on Sunday, but some people will be like, yeah, I really like the chapter. It was like good. Yeah, I know it's good. But I need to know what stuck out to you. What did you learn? And in addition to that, I'm just going to ask you for like, just summarize. What did you learn? And then find something else that kind of tops off what you want to learn. So again, I'm telling you, most of you come to this going like, I don't want to learn about theories. But as you start learning, going down the chapter and then developing your own theory, maybe there's something you're like, oh, I want to know who does social science research. I want to know who has done a study on this. Maybe there's an actual study on people who jump to conclusions, right? Things like that. Or there's a term that I learned as I was talking about this, or I saw a term in the chapter and I don't know what it is and I want to learn more. Find another resource. And I gave you guys right here. So first of all, just reflect on what you've learned. Number one, reflect on what you've learned. 5 to 10 cents, it's not hard. Now, again, you don't need to repeat the chapter fact by fact. People will say, I learned that theories are a way to, he didn't give me the definition. It's like, I got it. What did you learn? Okay. Maybe I learned that everybody has a theory. We just haven't put it into words. We haven't typed it out, right? Sometimes theories are flexible. Sometimes theories are rigid, right? Number 2, find an additional resource that deepens your understanding. Again, this is college. I want to see what you want to learn and why you want to learn that stuff. And again, maybe every chapter is not your land, not your a perfect fit, but there's things to do with this. I gave you suggestions here, like you could find an article, you could find a scholarly journal that's a little dry and boring, but you can do that if that's what you're thinking. Or a website. Maybe there's a National Association of assumers.com. I don't know, right? A podcast, a book, a YouTube video, or a TED Talk that talks. I mean, there's so many. I'm telling you, YouTube. I just saw one that's from Samantha Coffey, that Australian hairdresser who used to have that show or whatever. It says why you need to be a bitch is her TED Talk. I was like, fantastic. Right? So there's this thing where like a lot of topics are out there and it will kind of like deepen your understanding of the things that you kind of already got going on. And that's the point of college. That's the point of life. You're not here to learn it because I know it. You're here to learn it because you need to know it. Trust me. All this stuff is like one piece of the puzzle on being successful as an adult and being successful in a job, right? So think about this. everywhere you work, and in every family, there's this one person that you just don't get along with. And that's cool. That's going to happen, right? However, maybe this will help you with that. Cool? Good. All right. So questions on the deep dive journal reflection. Cool. Ask me. I'll give you guys open time at the end. Okay. So again, to find the chapter, the PowerPoint for this one, you go under modules, go under chapter 2, and then go under content and lecture right here. Sorry, it's going a little bit slow because I do have a bunch of tabs open today. Again, any other questions? Let's scroll down. Good. Let's keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Chapter 2. It's not even loading the page. I don't know about you, but Canvas was super crabby, Patties, this weekend. It was like, I'm going to go slow. I'm not going to do what you said. Thank you. Thank you. Very helpful. Okay, so chapter 2, content. Here is your PowerPoint. Cool. We did a lot already today. It's been like we're running into an hour, but it's perfect. Perfect timing. Now again, theories can be broken down into like categories, and our books kind of organizes it of like what do theories do. The next one is grand theories. Those are kind of like the original, or like the OG theories, right? They're the ones that kind of started off everything. And think about it this way. Humans been on the planet for, we know, but some people are stuck in like a certain particular time. It's only been 2,000 years. Some people say it's been like 5 million years. Some people say it's been 500,000 years. Right. So it's different, right? In that time that humans have been on the planet, we've only been studying the quality of humans, or even the quantity of humans, for the last about 100 years. So whether you believe we've been on the planet for 2,000 years or 2 million years, 100 years, that is like a drop in the bucket of the quality of human beings. And the interesting thing is that anthropology came up first. We were studying ancient humans, right? We're studying dead societies, dead cultures, right? Paleontology came up first, these hard sciences. And we had more theories on humans, like in the pyramids, when they were unearthing the pyramids in the 20s. We had more theories on dead societies than we did on current societies. And it makes me laugh, because how is it that we exist in our world, but we don't know about the world? And again, we won't know everything about everything, but knowing more about something that's extinct, right? And again, there are scientists who are like the world's foremost expert on this particular dinosaur thing, and maybe they're not great with people, and that's the difference in people too. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, in psychology, we use the phrase, it's not a problem until it causes a problem, right? So if you're kind of introverted and you don't really get along with people, but then you're always wondering why you don't have any friends, there's the difference. Be introverted and maybe just enjoy spending time with yourself. But at the same time, don't get mad if that's not what you want. So you see the difference? It's not a problem until it causes a problem. So I'm going to share the screen on just the slides now. So it was giving me a little bit of break there. Good. Any questions again so far?
We did part 1 for chapter 1. There was a part 2, wasn't there?
I think I found the entire chapter. I'll post it.
Okay.
I think and if not, I'll try to break it down. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not, it's kind of interesting because I do have it in different iterations. I've taught it at so many different schools. Some of the things that I'm posting, if it's not this live Zoom meeting, I'm posting it and it's similar, but it's not current. And so it's like, I want to do it, but I don't want to make it confusing for people. Like, you said this and it was outlined in red and mine's not outlined in red. And it kind of opens the door a little bit to some confusion. So I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. But at the same time, if I'm like lecturing here and then like I cut down class and after office hours, then I re-lecture again, it's a little funky. That's a little funky too. So trying to strike the balance. So thank you for being flexible. Okay, so again, we talked about these start off questions. If at the end of the chapter, at the end of the week, you can answer these, you're on board, you're good to go. Okay, good. Again, these grand theories, think of these as like that Victorian, like if you do remember those people who had like those, almost like Downton Abbey, not everybody watched that or whatever, but that whole idea of like old Queen Victoria and the upper lace and the very prim and proper Victorian era, that was about the time people started to look around and look at humans and human beings and human nature. Think of it like Sherlock Holmes. It was like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle wrote about Sherlock Holmes, didn't write it. He wrote it about Sherlock Holmes a little bit in the past. He didn't write contemporary, but that was about the time. It was the turn of the century between 1800s to 1900s that people started thinking about humans, thinking about why do people act this way? Why do people believe this way? And so we look at it as like older grand theories, like how they started, and then newer ones. And then all of our ones kind of fit into this. Trust me on this one. Newer theories yours might be more like, even if it's just like, why do people prefer hip hop? Or like I have a question, why is music now more digitally constructed than actually constructed? That doesn't make sense to me. And it's all music, but if I'm just making three words over here, how does that turn into one whole song? And is that the next thing that connects people's brains? Like, I don't know. It's really interesting, right? I'd rather listen to actually live music or something that's been organically created. So again, why do we have theories? Again, these walk us through the scientific process, and we're not alive on the planet to live by the scientific process. But again, that's the structure that we've created in order to make things replicatable, predictable. Again, studies that can't be replicated aren't ones that you need to be really impressed with or hang your hat on, I guess you want to say. Again, there is theories that, autism is caused by vaccines, not a replicatable study. It's totally false. The guy who claimed that lost his license. Yeah. And even heads up, in this class, we will learn about theories that sound amazing, and then they're full of holes. And that's okay too, because the thing, a long time ago when we developed certain things, we didn't have all the knowledge we have now. Freud, holy cow, if Freud was alive today, we'll talk more about this, and he was all bent out of shape about people's sexual desires, he had no idea what the internet and porn was. I mean, they were just inventing pornography back in the day. And so he was all kind of wound up on why people were so like that, like very conservative over here, but really unwound over here. What would he say about magazines and Playboy or whatever? Like, it's crazy. So again, we have information now that we didn't have before. So if there's a theory that doesn't really hold water now, it's okay. We're still growing. We are still learning things, right? 1,000 years ago, we didn't really know everything about the planets. And now we have we have 3 rovers on Mars, 3, and 1 satellite around Jupiter. It's unbelievable, right? So we progress and we get practical guidance, and then we build the next one up. It's almost like stair steps sometimes, or you'll hear the term standing on the shoulders of giants. People who learned about this, like hepatitis C is now technically curable, when they were saying immediately, if you got that 100 years ago, you were going to die, right? We don't have polio anymore because we've developed the vaccine, things like that. So again, we have guidance, and then we keep growing as we get more sophisticated. Hold on. Okay, good. Hold on. Sorry. It's like my arrows don't work, but it's just the little slider in the middle of my arrow of my mouse, and it's so sensitive. It's like, okay, there we go. Let's go back one more. There we go. Now, developmental theory is a way of saying, it's not an actual theory, it's a way of looking at a theory. It just means that it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, stair steps. So as you develop something, it's almost like saying, as a child, let's say language. You can look at language acquisition as a developmental theory. When kids are little, they don't talk, but then they babble, and then they try on words for size, and then they talk, and then they can write, and then they can describe, right? So like language is a developmental theory. Getting older is a developmental theory. Getting taller is a developmental theory. Things that progress, right? Okay, let's see. Okay, so Freud's is a developmental theory. Okay, you will need to know that his name, so his name and the name of his theory, psychoanalytic. Now again, psycho doesn't mean crazy. It means self-analysis, right? But it's kind of funny because he would help you analyze yourself. And so people would literally go to him and like do that whole traditional, like stereotypical lay on a couch and talk to him about their problems, right? And most of the time he worked with women who were hysterical. Could have been anxiety, could have been bipolar, could have been stress, it could have been depression. That's what we call it now, but back then they were hysterical, right? And he would talk about all their problems, and he came up with all these ideas based on these same stories or these same things. Now, starting off with Freud is a little interesting because he's a little out there, even to this day, right? I mentioned earlier that he is focused on sex, but specifically how we have sexual urges as human beings, and then how that plays out in our development. So, for example, each phase is connected to a body part, and each body part has pleasure involved with it. And I don't mean like couples or partner or adult pleasure. Just keep in mind that itty bitty babies, they're just this little ball of nerve endings and just fresh in the world. They can have like erections and have stimulation just on their own. That is a normal part of humanity. That is what animals do, right? But Freud would call it that was just part of one of his phases. He wasn't saying like that little itty baby is trying to like, make the moves on somebody. It's not that. It's just being part of us being an animal and at that phase. And we'll talk about that in a sec. Okay. So again, each phase has its own struggle, right? That was kind of like, we call it a psychology crisis. And that's a good thing, right? Sounds terrible, but it's not. And you resolve this crisis, right? Now, some kids, when they're itty bitty babies and they maybe would have an erection, their parents would freak out and do something like reject them or walk away or take the bottle away. That creates a problem later in life when people, and then later people have this weird thing about trying to develop intimate relationships. And so Freud would connect this problem in adulthood to, oh, well, when you were 3 months old, your mother rejected you. And he's not wrong. It's just kind of out there. It's just a little bit hard to put those two things together, but he did. And he was kind of like the grandfather of every theory. He was, at a time in the planet's history, he was one of the only theorists on the planet about human behavior, about human urges, about human psychology, being the only one, the newest one, the first one. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that his is kind of still to this day, it's a little on a taboo, meaning we don't really talk about, we're not very open. Our society is still not super, super open about sex, but there's a lot there. So we start with that, which is a great place to start, because then everything kind of branches off from that. Now, Erikson was similar, but very, very different. He was also a psychotherapist. He was also a psychoanalyst. He also believed in the self, except for he wasn't focused on sex. He talked about emotions, right? It's kind of interesting. So both are psychoanalytic, but Erikson focused on emotions. So right, make sure you know the difference. I will ask you, Freud talked about psychosexual issues, and Erikson talked about psychosocial issues. It says right here, 5 psychosocial stages. There's actually more, but we'll only focus on the first 5. Psychosocial meaning self, and our socialness, or how we interact with people. So psychosocial, you're going to see me do like the heart, little beaver heart here, because where Freud was just talking about our sexual urges and psychosexual development, Erikson talked about our emotions and our psychosocial development. Now, psychosocial is a huge part of this class. After Unit 1, every single age, when we talk about toddlers, we'll have a psychosocial chapter. And then when we talk about little kids like preschoolers, kindergartners, we will have a psychosocial chapter. Then it's middle childhood. We will talk about psychosocial middle childhood. It's all emotions, right? Temper tantrums is a psychosocial event. Your first breakup with your significant other in high school is a psychosocial event. So Freud characterized psychosocial as a development, right? This stage, and then that stage, and this stage, and that stage. Each of his stages had this little teeter-totter in it. These two little crises that need to evolve. And again, it had to do with family and connection and emotions. So I'll tell you the first one, and we'll get into more of his later. This is just the intro, and then the specifics of his will kind of come in each chapter. The very first one has to do with trust versus mistrust. So when a baby is born on the planet, and yes, Freud would talk about sex, all the sexual urges of this infant, but Erikson would say this baby's task is to resolve this trust versus mistrust. Now, you're thinking, infants can trust and infants cannot trust? Yes, you bet they can. When they cry and you come and attend to their cries, they learn how to trust. Bing bong, done. But what happens when the baby cries and the parental, and I'm not just saying the mom or the dad, but there's like it could be a foster parent or a grandparent, they're not available. They're busy, or they're passed out on the couch, or they left the house. Kids get neglected all the time. Kids who aren't getting their needs met early on in life stop trusting the universe. Erikson was right. And by the way, his whole theory goes all the way up to like death. So that your grandparents are included here. We won't talk about all that stuff. We only go up to age 18 in this class, but I'm telling you later, I'll suggest it. Say, hey, take this theory and look at your grandparents and your parents and see where they're at. They're not wrong. So Freud, so Freud was sex, Erikson was emotions. I think Erikson really did a good job, right? But again, look, this was a long time ago. Like go back. He, again, he published his theory when he was a grandparent, right? So at age 73, he figured this all out, right? So he took a lifetime to figure this all out, which is great. Now you guys are getting a head start, right? Now, if he were younger, would he had a different theory? Maybe. If he had a different types of kids, maybe. If he was born 100 years earlier or 100 years later, would have been different? Maybe. Okay, good. Let's go back. All right, next one. Sorry, let me move this over because I can't see. Now, again, behaviorism is one of the ground theories. So now we're talking about psychosexual, psychosocial, and behaviorism. These are the big grand poobahs. These are the old school, early ones. So behaviorism, it talks about learning theory, how people learn, and specifically animals, right? If you've ever had an old dog and taught them a new trick, you've used behaviorism. Totally doable, right? If you've ever given somebody an attaboy or an attagirl, hoping that they would then maybe return the favor, that's behaviorism. We all kind of work on behaviorism. When's the last time you went to work and they said, you know, we don't have any money to pay you, but if you can keep coming back to work, that'd be great. When's the last time you just worked for free? Now, volunteering is different. But like if you went to your place of business, or if I said, you know what, we took 4 months of this class, but you don't need a grade. We're just going to skip the grades. Would you have stayed in the class all the time? No. Behaviorism says that we do things in order to receive things. And it's a little reductive, but at the same time, we are simple beings sometimes, and we do things to get things. You're in college so you can get a degree, so you can have a better job, so you can make more money, so you can get things. I mean, it's a long path, but you're here because of that. There's no reason to be here just for now, trust me, I have a friend who's retired and she like went back to Harvard extended classes just for fun. She literally took paleontology and this and that's like, or you'll see advertisements on YouTube for master class where you can pay $180 and you can take all these classes. I was like, geez, who's got the time for that? Like, you know, and people do it just for fun. Oh, I wanted to learn urban gardening from South Central LA from this guy. That's cool. That's cool. That's fine. You learned something. Your payout was that maybe you're going to now garden. That's fantastic. But for us in this class, our payoff is kind of the grade, yeah? The points and then the grade. Okay. So conditioning is the process that we support that learning. We support that theory. And there's a bunch of different ways for that. So we'll talk to more about that. Some of them are very kind of boring and clinical, and some of them are very easy to understand. Okay, let me go back. Now, again, the originator of behaviorism is Pavlov. You guys may have heard this one, and I have a video on this, and I'll show us in a sec. Pavlov is the one who figured out that I can get a dog to do something he or she would normally do, but if I set up the right conditions, they would do it. Like, so where you see like a dog that can like press a button or balance something on their nose, right? Okay, like probably could balance something on their nose if they were left alone in the wild, but they don't do it unless we really orchestrate that. We set that up, we create that opportunity, right? So he created a system that put something totally random with something totally predictable, and then took out the predictable and then made that random connect to the predictable. It's really interesting. So we'll talk. His is called classical conditioning. Think of like Pavlov. Look at him. He's like Mr. Old School. Got the bow tie, got the whole thing. He's classic. He's old school. So think of him that way. Classical conditioning. Received the Nobel Prize. So it means he did a good job. And it was new at the time. Very, 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 very new at the time. The next guy was Watson. He kind of like branched off a little bit. He didn't become as big because he was a little bit pure in his thought. He said like, how many times have somebody said, like, maybe let's say, I don't know, have you ever tried to like throw a piece of trash from far away, throw it into a trash can and you missed, right? So you would say like, well, I didn't mean to miss. My intention was to make the basket, right? So get the trash would go in the basket. Watson would say, all I can do is observe your behavior. I don't care about your intentions. He would say, you missed. And you say, but I didn't mean to miss. I didn't want to miss. I just happened to miss. He'd go like, okay, well then your behavior was that you missed. You're like, but I didn't try to miss. I didn't want to miss. He's like, but you missed. So his is a little pure, but not wrong. So sometimes that scientific thought can get a little rigid, but not wrong. Because sometimes, again, those invisible motivations or intentions of people are sadly less important than the outcome, right? So you'll see demonstrators, people who could peacefully demonstrate, and they have a permit and everything's above board, and they're they don't want to make a problem. They just want to have a peaceful assembly like we can do in this country. And then things start going wrong. Somebody shows up, and then it just starts going badly. And then there's like this whole thing, rioting and looting and stuff like that. Like, well, we just wanted a peaceful protest. That wasn't our intention. Watson would say, but the behavior looked like rioting and looting, right? Right. So again, his was a little like one section of behaviorism that kind of went down the rabbit hole a little bit. He made that suggestion. It doesn't matter what you wanted to do or what you thought. It was what happened. Okay, thank you. But I think there's a lot more there, but that's where he was at. Next one. Wow, let me go back. Sorry. Okay. Then this operant. So whoever has played the game Operation, where you have to actually get the little things out of the thing before it buzzes you, right? It doesn't really shock you, it just makes a noise, right? So operant, think of operation. Operant conditioning is more of the reality of conditioning. Like, you're not a dog, right? Pavlov worked with dogs. You're not a dog, but how can we make humans act in a certain way? And I got a couple of videos on this. How are we doing on time? Perfect. Cool. So Skinner was kind of think of it this way. Skin is like reality. Like your skin is reality, right? So where Pavlov was classic, he was the old school, the guy in the black and white. Skinner, his skin was like your reality. So it's like, I'll show you some videos. It's like saying, please and thank you. When you say please and thank you, the other person has a higher probability of doing what you've asked. Yeah? Versus give me now. Like, so again, my teenager's in that phase. Give me that now. I'm like, I'll just wait. Right? And so he knows manners. He's just in that phase, right? So Skinner really taught that that behavior can be modified, right? And if you are interested in working with kids with autism, or you work in the ABA field or whatever, this is the beginnings of ABA. It is operant conditioning 100%. Systematic shaping of behavior. Systematic shaping of behavior. So like, for example, like if I wanted to go run a marathon, which I am not a runner, would I go out and run 18 miles in one day preparing for 26? No, I would slowly work up to that, right? I would condition, I would operate, I would systematically condition myself to do that. I had a friend who did that. She ran the LA Marathon, and she was not a runner, but she started with 1 mile, then 2, then 5, then 10. I mean, she did it, and she did it. It was amazing. So again, anything can be done as long as you systematically define it. This last one. Okay, I'm gonna social learning is something that we'll do next, but let's stop and compare. Let's talk a little bit more about Freud and Erikson, and then we'll talk about operant conditioning versus classical conditioning. I'm going to show you videos now, because this is how we put that visual piece together. So let's stop this one, and let's knock out this one, and let's knock out this one, knock out this one. Okay, get this down, get this down. Okay, cool. So let me share screen so you guys can see. I'm going to give you my whole screen this time, but also share the computer sound and optimize the screen sharing for the video clip. Hopefully it works out really good. It like kind of boosts your video, but at the same time, it can get a little slow, but so we'll see. The first one is that we're going to talk about like an overview of Freud. And again, all these videos are in the module. Please watch them again if you need to.
Being entirely honest with oneself is a good exercise. Dr. Sigmund Freud. I'm in the original European Inner World Masters Psychoanalysis home office, sitting in a...
Sorry. It is going slow.
reclining chair where Dr. Sigmund Freud analyzed patients from between 1891 and 1938. A psychoanalyst's couch, like the one Freud's patients lay on in search of relief from inner world turmoil, is stretched out in front of me. I'm writing step 4 to you from Vienna, Austria. Imagine how the Victorian-era Viennese public must have reacted when Dr. Freud first introduced the idea to the world that our behaviors are driven by all sorts of things that occurred in our past, and which are often not at all conscious to us in the present. Over 100 years ago, that culture-rattling insight changed the course of history. Foremost, because it changed the way we understand how our self develops. Dr. Freud recognized that we're each exposed to formative experiences and insights, and that although we may have forgotten those important events, they are continuing to inform the moment-to-moment recreation of our self, and so how we feel and express ourselves each moment today. Dr. Freud taught us that many of the experiences that influence how our self is produced today occurred before we were able to form lasting conscious memories at all. Although all of our life's experiences cannot necessarily be brought into our conscious awareness as memories today, Dr. Freud saw that they often left a lasting impact on how we behave and what automatic emotions we experience throughout life. Unconscious experiences derived from early life events influence your habits, choices, and behaviors throughout your life. Your unconscious history form the iterations of yourself that rise off your bridge of translation today. Dr. Freud observed that moments of challenge or trauma often continued to grow within and emerged in a morphed form as emotions and behaviors later in life. He saw that some seeds planted flower over time, while other seeds grow and decay. Either way, unconsciously planted seeds often morph into new aspects of your life by changing the moment-to-moment contents automatically occurring in your inner dialogue, and so becoming the different versions of yourself each moment.
So that's just kind of a really cool overview. I really like that because he really talks about that. He doesn't say a whole lot about sex in that one. He just talks about unconscious desires. So Freud believes that it's all about sex. It's kind of interesting. And as you go through the stages.
Hello, everyone.
We're going to skip.
I have something to ask you.
Hold on.
Will you add your name to join my campaign? We still have a long.
Skipping all this for class. We just want the video. So again, with Freud, he really was like this huge eye-opening
way to go if we're going to defeat.
Huge eye-opening moment for people that it had to do with you are who you are based on stuff that happened to you. So he's kind of like the grandfather of psychology. Yeah. And so again, some of us know what happened to us, some of us don't know, but we have to like figure it out. Sometimes what we do is based on the stuff.
This is a thinker who helps us understand why our lives and relationships are full of so much confusion and pain. He tells us why life is hard and how to cope. His own life incurred a lot of anxieties. Sigmund Shlomo Freud was born to a middle-class Jewish family in 1856. His professional life was not an immediate success. As a medical student, he dissected hundreds of eels in an unsuccessful attempt to locate their reproductive organs. He promoted cocaine as a medical drug, but it turned out to be a dangerous and addictive idea. A few years later, he founded the discipline that would ultimately make his name, a new psychological medicine he called psychoanalysis. The landmark study was his 1900 book, The Interpretation of Dreams. Many others followed. Despite his success, he was often unhappy. During some particularly strenuous research, he recorded, "The chief patient I am preoccupied with is myself." He was convinced he would die between 61 and 62 and had great phobias about those numbers, although he actually died much later at the age of 83. Perhaps because of his frustrations, Freud achieved a series of deep insights into the sources of human unhappiness. He proposed that we are all driven by the pleasure principle, which inclines us towards easy physical and emotional rewards, and away from unpleasant things like drudgery and discipline. As infants, we are guided more or less solely according to the pleasure principle, Freud argued. But it will, if adhered to without constraints, lead us to dangerous, reckless things like never doing any work or eating too much, or most notoriously, trying to sleep with members of our own family. We need to adjust to what Freud called the reality principle. Though we all have to bow to this reality principle, Freud believed that there were better or worse kinds of adaptations. He called the troublesome ones neuroses. Neuroses are the result of faulty negotiations with, or in Freud's language, repression of, the pleasure principle. Freud described a conflict between three parts of our minds.
Really cool
the
idea.
id, driven by the pleasure principle, and the superego, driven by a desire to follow the rules and do the right thing according to society, and the ego, which has to...
So you may have heard this one too. This is in Freud's pinnacle of his theory, that we have this id who just basically wants to just do whatever it wants, whenever it wants to. It wants to spend money and eat whatever and gamble and Vegas and unprotected sex and just super ego's like, no, that breaks all of society's rules. You can't do that. And then the ego is in there to try to like negotiate. Now, sometimes the ego falls to the id side and sometimes the ego falls to the super ego side. And so again, that also has to do with that, self-exploration we did last week. It's like some people are just like, yay, let's go for it, woohoo, and some people are like, no, there's rules to be followed and we have to look good at all costs, right? And so Freud wasn't wrong. He's coming up on about 100 years ago of this theory, roughly. We're looking at like 85, 90 years. So he wasn't wrong.
somehow accommodate between the other two. To understand more about these dynamics, Freud urges to think back to the origins of our neuroses in childhood. As we grow up, we go through what Freud termed the oral phase, where we deal with all the feelings around ingestion and eating. If our parents aren't careful, we might pick up all kinds of neuroses here. We might take pleasure in refusing food, or turn to food to calm ourselves down, or hate the idea of depending on anyone else for food. Then comes the anal phase, which is closely aligned with what we now call potty training. During this period, our parents tell us what to do and when to go. At this phase, we begin to learn about testing the limits of authority. Again, if things go wrong here, if we don't feel that authority is benign enough, we might, for example, choose to withhold out of defiance. Then, as adults, we might become anally retentive, in other words, not able to give or to surrender. Next comes the phallic phase, which goes on until about the age of 6. Freud shocked his contemporaries by insisting that little children have sexual feelings. Moreover, in the phallic phase, children direct their sexual impulses towards their parents, the most immediately available and gratifying people around. Freud famously described what he called the Oedipus complex, where we are unconsciously predisposed towards being in love with the one parent and hating the other. What is complex is that no matter how much our parents love us, they cannot extend this to sexual life and will always have to have another life with a partner. This makes our young selves feel dangerously jealous and angry, and also ashamed and guilty about this anger.
Just a phase.
The complex provides a huge amount of internalized worry for a small child. Ultimately, most of us experience some form of confusion around our parents that later ties into our ideas of love. Mum and Dad may both give us love, but they often mix it with disturbed behaviour. Yet because we love them, we remain loyal to them and also to their bizarre destructive patterns. For example, if our mother is cold, we will be apt nevertheless to long for her, and as a result, however, we may be prone to always associate love with a certain distance. Naturally, the result is very difficult adult relationships. Often the kind of love we've learned from mum and dad means we can't fuse sex and love, because the people we learned about love from are also those we were blocked from having sex with. We might find that the more in love with someone we are, the harder it becomes to make love to them. This can reach a pitch of crisis after a few years of marriage and some kids. Freud compared the issues we so often have with intimacy to hedgehogs in the winter. They need to cuddle for warmth, but they also can't come too close because they're prickly. There's no easy solution. Freud says we can't make ourselves fully rational, and we can't change society either. In his 1930s,
So in efforts of time, he's going to go down a rabbit hole a little bit more. So you guys see how Freud himself was very conflicted, but he was making these theories, which aren't wrong, but I wouldn't say that everybody says, yes, I have an Oedipus complex when I was 4. It happens. It's there. It's just not as dramatic as Freud made it. And again, as society's gotten more sophisticated and more convoluted, we've had other things that pop up. So the next one in the chapter, I'm going to jump over a few things, but there is a really good one on Erickson, but I do want to, and I really, really like Erickson. So again, I'm suggesting for you guys to watch these videos that are in the module, but I will talk a lot more about Erickson for the rest of this entire class than I will about Freud. So I'm going to give Erickson the backseat right now and jump over to the behaviorism. So first I'm going to talk about the classical and operant conditioning, and then you guys can watch the behaviorism. I do talk a lot about behaviorism in this class because, again, as a behaviorist, I'll give it the backseat now, but we talk more in the future. But again, you guys are welcome to come tomorrow. I will talk more about that stuff that I didn't hit today. And then this is a TED Ed. So this is a really good one. I started these up before class started, but they wanted to be started for me. So this will be the last one. You guys are welcome to click off at 11:40. But
when we think about learning, we often picture students in a classroom or lecture hall, books open on their desk, listening intently to a teacher or professor in the front of the room. But in psychology, learning means something else. To psychologists, learning is a long-term change in behavior that's based on experience. Two of the main types of learning are called classical conditioning and operant or instrumental conditioning. Let's talk about classical conditioning first. In the 1890s, a Russian physiologist named Ivan Pavlov did some really famous experiments on dogs. He showed dogs some food and rang a bell at the same time. After a while, the dogs would associate the bell with the food. They would learn that when they heard the bell, they would get fed. Eventually, just ringing the bell made the dog salivate. They learned to expect food at the sound of a bell. You see, under normal conditions, the sight and smell of food causes a dog to salivate. We call the food an unconditioned stimulus, and we call salivation an unconditioned response. Nobody trains a dog to salivate over some steak. However, when we pair an unconditioned stimulus like food with something that was previously neutral, like the sound of a bell, that neutral stimulus becomes a conditioned stimulus. And so classical conditioning was discovered. We see how this works with animals, but how does it work with humans? in exactly the same way. Let's say that one day you go to the doctor to get a shot. She says, "Don't worry, this won't hurt a bit," and then gives you the most painful shot you've ever had. A few weeks later, you go to the dentist for a checkup. He starts to put a mirror in your mouth to examine your teeth, and he says, "Don't worry, this won't hurt a bit." Even though you know the mirror won't hurt, you jump out of the chair and run screaming from the room. When you went to get a shot, the words, "this won't hurt a bit," became a conditioned stimulus when they were paired with the pain of the shot, the unconditioned stimulus, which was followed by your conditioned response of getting the heck out of there. Classical conditioning in action. Operant conditioning explains how consequences lead to changes in voluntary behavior. So how does operant conditioning work? There are two main components in operant conditioning: reinforcement and punishment. Reinforcers make it more likely that you'll do something again, while punishers make it less likely. Reinforcement and punishment can be positive or negative, but this doesn't mean good and bad. Positive means the addition of a stimulus, like getting dessert after you finish your veggies, and negative means the removal of a stimulus, like getting a night of no homework because you did well on an exam. Let's look at an example of operant conditioning. After eating dinner with your family, you clear the table and wash the dishes. When you're done, your mom gives you a big hug and says, "Thank you for helping me." In this situation, your mom's response is positive reinforcement if it makes you more likely to repeat the operant response, which is to clear the table and wash the dishes. Operant conditioning is everywhere in our daily lives. There aren't many things we do that haven't been influenced at some point by operant conditioning. We even see operant conditioning in some extraordinary situations. One group of scientists showed the power of operant conditioning by
I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because he talks about training pigeons. We're not going to talk about that. You're welcome to watch the end of that. So it is 11:41. I want to be aware of your time. I know you have other classes, commitments, time schedules, whatnot. So again, there's a few other videos. Tomorrow I will share the link with you so you guys can come to the next class. I will show the other videos that I didn't get to today. But at the beginning, I will do the same thing. In that class, which is like go through the parts of the module and things like that. So again, most of you won't be able to make it, but I will be able to post the recording. So again, it's up to you whether you want to watch the recording after or come to the video live tomorrow, 10:15. Okay, good. So it's time to go. You guys are welcome to go. If you have questions, please stick around. Let's see. I have something in the chat. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah. You guys, there's a lot in here. So I know probably right now, since I talked earlier about the discussion board, somebody's going to have questions now because I talked about it and then you guys probably watched some of the videos, listen to me talk, and now you're thinking about your theory. Tell me, who's got questions on the discussion board where you're going to post your theory? Anyone? Anyone? Other questions? Concerns? Anything?
What day is the outline due again?
When is it due?
Yeah.
I just said Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. Now, but again, remember, what's the late policy in this class?
There really isn't one.
Yeah, there is, but I call them target dates. And so if you're stressing out about getting your 2-page outline in on Wednesday night and you need to do it Thursday morning, or for some reason you did it Wednesday night and your computer like freaked out and it didn't happen, I'm not concerned. Please don't be concerned. Things happen, right? So shoot, the reason I put those due dates on there or those target dates on there is that it keeps the momentum going. You hit them, great. You don't, you might get behind. It's on you. Yeah, let's not do that. Good question.
Thank you.
Next, who else? Who else?
For written outlines, can we take a picture and upload? Okay.
Yeah,
So
you're a handwriter?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Take a picture and upload it.
Canvas or your email?
No, Canvas. It's
Okay.
in Canvas. There says outline number 2. Click that because then your pictures go into that and that's how I grade it. If you just email it to me, it's like dangling out in the wind.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Of course. I know a lot of people are handwriting that's very kinesthetic. It's visual. Sometimes people highlight or use like glitter pens or whatever. Absolutely. Do it however you need to do it. Good question. Anyone else?
If we're Yeah, if we're handwriting it, does it have to be 2 pages front to back?
Yeah, I like it 2 pages handwriting. Sometimes if your handwriting is huge, make it 4 just to cover your bases.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? Because if I was typing the same information that you hand wrote, it would probably be, 2 pages of handwriting to, it would be 4 pages of handwriting to 2 pages of typing. That's about right. Try to keep everything equitable, right? Equals, fair. Yeah.
Did you say 4 pages of handwriting?
I would say that just to be safe. I mean, it just depends on your writing. Some people write really small, like it's typing.
Yeah.
I'm looking for like the quality, not just the quantity. You know what I'm saying? If somebody just writes massively huge letters and like gives me 2 pages of like a picture, it's like, I mean, that's fine. I mean, but that might be more like a 3 out of 5. Right? It's cool. Like people make choices. I just want to make sure you guys are doing it your way, but not like cutting the corners. Our Wednesday class did not get moved to Tuesday. It didn't. No, we will not meet on Wednesday, and that's on your syllabus. The only time we're going to meet on Wednesday is next week. We did the first week Monday and Wednesday. Second week Mondays. Third week I'm switching the Monday to Wednesday because there's a holiday, right? But this class I do not guarantee Wednesdays, not at all. So you can come to class on Monday, no problem, or not, right? Again, I don't force participation, right, in this class. You can watch the videos, but I'm not lecturing live on Wednesdays, not at all. And I'm not lecturing live on Thursdays for the other class because I can't, just with my schedule running around and the kid, his schedule is like, I can't do it. I can't do it. Sorry. But you guys do have the same information. It's just in a different way. So what I would do is like just carve out the same time for Wednesday at 10:15 to work on your stuff. Show up to class, but don't show up to class. You know what I'm saying? Show up to class for yourself. Make sense? Cool.
Do we only, if we handwrite our notes, do we only have to upload the first 2 pages, even if it is like 4?
Yeah. If
Okay.
it's, again, if it's super spread out and it looks like it's not really 2 pages, maybe give yourself the 4. I'm saying cover your bases. I'm not going to like run around and walk, like hunt you down and be like, you only gave me 2 pages and that 2 pages is only really 2.75 pages. I'm not doing that. Right. But if your writing is really big and your 2 pages of an outline only covers the first 5 pages in the chapter, maybe that's not covering all the bases. I don't expect the entire, like if you want to do the entire chapter, I'm saying theoretically everybody should outline the entire chapter. Why is the stuff in the beginning more important than the stuff at the end? It's not. Now, some people are just gonna just outline the 2 pages, just do their 2 pages and stop. That's cool. That's not really learning, but okay. If people want to cut the corners, that's more of a reflection of your choices than it is, like that's fine. I mean, I usually see what I'm saying. I'm not, because some people are going to outline the chapter is going to be 12 pages. Trust me, I got those attachments. I got 12 pages of attachment. Doesn't mean that they learned anything. So there's a fine line between overdoing it and underdoing it. And then, your personal integrity is on the backside. I don't measure that.
Okay.
So there's a,
like even if our outline is like a lot of pages, like you just want the first 2, like we don't send all of them, right?
It's up to you. You can give me all 12 if you want.
Okay.
It's up to you. Like some people do it just because they're super conscientious about everything. And, I can tell you right now, I usually look at the first 2 and that'll tell me how the rest is. If I look at the first 2, or sometimes if somebody gives me 12, I'll like look at page 3 and page 9. Like, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's up to you if you want to give me all 12. That's cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Behaviorism is its own. There's a question. Behaviorism is its own carve out. Psychology, like psychoanalytic and psychosexual theory is this way. Behaviorism is different. It's like a different branch. But you can talk about why somebody's self-motivation and why they behave a certain way. Those do connect. But behaviorism, Skinner and Watson, they would not say they are psychologists. Not at all. That's apples and oranges. Yeah, cool. Do we email you the outline or post it on the discussion? No. There is a homework submission. There is a assignment submission for the outline. Go to your grade sheet, go to the module. It has like a little, I think like a little paper clip that says click here and submit it. Do not email it to me. My email doesn't connect to your grade board, right? Put it in your grade board. Yeah, whatever, your grading sheet will tell you everything that's due and when, right? And then if you don't do it, it'll say missing or late or whatever like that. If it says late, don't freak out, because that doesn't really bother me in this class. And a lot of times things will show up. Canvas does weird things. I had somebody who submitted stuff and all her stuff was missing. I was like, I didn't hide your stuff. Canvas sometimes does weird stuff, but if I can go find it and it's there, it's fine, right? But it has to be in where it is due. Put it where it belongs. Don't just email it to me, right? You can only email it to me if, like, for some reason it's just, you tried it 5 times, it's not working, or something's wrong, or blah blah blah, then you can email it to me. But do that as a last, because then I still cannot connect whatever you email to me into your grade board. I can't do it. It has to come from you. It's your submission. So for me, I would have to like go to my email, download it, pull it out, read it, then go back to your grade board. Like, so it should go directly to your grade sheet or your grade board or your submission. And then that makes it super easy. Trust me on this one. At the end of the semester, and I'm trying to put all these little pieces together, it's maddening. Please don't email it. It goes into your grade. My email is just communication. Your class is your grade, and your grade is your class. Good? Another question in chat. Where would tomorrow's lecture be posted if we can't make it? I'm trying to put them under where it says Chapter 2 lecture, right? But if I've just lectured between 10:15 and 11:40 or 10:15 and noon, it takes me a little bit to put it up on YouTube, have it get closed caption. So it's later in that day, but not right away. Right? Again, you guys have your book. You guys have access to the slides. You guys have access to all the videos, right? You guys have access to all the information. Remember, in college, it's not up to the professor to get you all the information. It's up to you to get all the information. Yeah. You have all the tools. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm here to help. But again, you guys have to really step into, what do I want to learn? How do I want to learn it? What's my mode of learning? Cool. Okay, it's almost noon, and I'll stay till noon, but then I have another appointment. So anyone else? I have 13 people in there, so people are hanging around for questions. What do you guys got? Anyone? Jesse, Dulce, Bree, Erica, anyone? Questions? Good. How you doing?
Tomorrow class, is it going over today's class, or is it?
I will do the first part, just like I did with you guys, like talk about this, what the module looks like. So if you're not available to come, that's fine. Just watch the video later, then you'll have to scan through. If you do show up, just mute me and do your work. Okay. I've done that in meetings, right? Welcome, Dulce. We'll see you on Monday.
Thank you so much. I'll see you next week, probably.
Likewise, you look super cuddly. Noelle, Christian, Jonathan, Jesse?
I have a question.
Yeah, Bree, jump on in.
For tomorrow's lecture, you said we're going to be covering the first part that we already went over.
It's fair. It's fair to them, right?
Right. And then the second portion will be...
I'll talk more about the Erickson that we didn't get to. I'll talk more about the other parts, like sociocultural theory, learning theory, the stuff we didn't get to. The newer theory.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, as far as the library, when we check out the book, they have a version. It's 2018, not 17. Is that close enough, or?
Let me look at 2018.
Yeah, it's exact. Everything else is the same, but the year.
Yeah, then that's fine. If it's you know what they did is they just did a second reprint.
Okay.
The second year. Yeah, just match up the ISBN numbers. They're pretty good about keeping the right version. Maybe the cover's different, and then I got printed the year later. So yeah, don't worry about that.
Okay.
Yeah. So just to double check, go back to the discussion board and where I put page 35. You know what I'm saying, and like match that up, that kind of stuff. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Great question, and thank you for letting me know about the library.
Yeah.
Good. Awesome. All right, we'll see you maybe Monday, maybe tomorrow. Jesse, Jim and Stacy, we'll see you on Monday.
I have a question.
Yeah, jump in.
So the first discussion video, I wasn't able to upload it. I was having a lot of difficulties. I was wondering if I could do like an alternative. I tried it all. I emailed. The only thing I was only able to do was email it. I couldn't even upload it. I don't know why.
Did you try the live version or the people
Yes,
said like?
I
Okay.
did, but the thing is that when I press like to record, it doesn't give me any options, right? It just my screen turns black. Yeah.
Would you be more comfortable doing like a Google slide thing?
Yeah, I could do that.
Would that work for you? What works for you?
Yeah, I could well, I tried doing another video, but I wasn't able to upload it either.
What
So,
about the studio? When you see the studio on the
it
down at the bottom?
doesn't, yeah, it doesn't work either. It was saying that it was error and it was like down or something.
They're putting that in there so we can get through all these problems, but I figured somebody was gonna still have roadblocks.
Yeah, I even went on the Canvas 24/7 support
cool.
and it said,
Good.
yeah, and it but same thing. It said to wait in line, and then once it was my turn, and it kicked me out and it said error.
I hate that. But yeah, so let me know what format were you thinking?
I don't know. It doesn't really. I could do anything.
Are you comfortable with like Google Slides or PowerPoint or something like that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, just put something together. Just do like 5 slides. It doesn't have to be crazy.
And how will I send that to you?
See if you can upload it to the discussion board. If not, just email it to me.
Okay.
But put it in Canvas.
Okay.
But now here's the deal. It has to be a link.
Okay.
Right. So now here's the deal. Now with if it's a Google slide, sometimes they only want Google people to read Google Slides.
Mm-hmm.
So here, I'll put it in the message board. My Google email is just my first and last name.
Okay.
So if you do it and then just send me like share or a link or something like that, that works. It's just MarianneLaney@gmail. Trust me, when it comes to our school email, it won't, because we don't have Mary. So just MarianneLaney at. Let me put it up for everybody. Let me put it for everybody. Yeah, MarianneLaney@gmail.com. Super easy. Yeah, and then in Canvas, let me know to say, hey, I emailed you the thing in Gmail, and then it'll remind me to go back. Cool. Well, thanks for sticking in there, Jim Cece. That's important. Like, fortitude is huge. That's why I put that grit video in the prep module. It's important. You got to push, even when the world's telling you no. You just got to keep going. Good for you. Okay, good. Any more questions, Lauren? Okay, it's 11:57. I'm going to go ahead and kill the class. And again, see you guys on Monday. Bye.